Welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. I'm finally back from touching grass in New Year's, so let's have a look at some of the new decks in the New Year's box. Let's have a look first at Drytron. As always, the deck you see in front of you right now is the cheaper version. We will have an expensive version later on in the video, so skip ahead if you want to have a look at that list. Drytron is a ritual deck that uses attack points for tributing instead of levels like you usually do for ritual monsters, and can technically summon any ritual monster that you want, because the ritual spell allows you to summon any ritual monster, but there just aren't any good ritual monster in Duel Links, like, the heralds that you can play in Master Duel, so we are just summoning their own boss monsters. This deck is also known for two other things other than ritual summoning. It's really good at link spamming and also summoning big fairy floodgates because of Ben 10's search effect. And while we don't really have a big Link monster that's worth making, like Appaloosa, and we also don't have the best Fairy Floodgate, which is Arclove Christia, we do have another Fairy Floodgate we can play, which is a really old but cheap card called Angel 07, and it's literally just Majesty's Fiend. So if our opponent doesn't have an out to it, we just win the game on the spot. Fun! As always, we'll begin by looking at the effect of the skill. The skill allows you to summon anything that's a Drytron monster or any rituals, and also you can only normal summon light monsters. You can reveal one level 1 Drytron monster from your hand, and then add any ritual monster or the ritual spell from your deck to your hand, and then send a level 1 Drytron monster from your deck to the graveyard. That pretty much guarantees that you never brick with this deck. The second effect also allows you to do something extra if your opponent has a monster. It allows you to add a Drytron spell or trap card from your deck to your hand. Importantly, it does not set the spell or trap card, so you can't really set the Drytron counter trap and then use it the same turn like a lot of the other skills allow you to do. That's a bit unfortunate, but it's still better than nothing. We'll begin with the ritual monsters. We have our main boss monsters, which is also our main end board piece when we go first, which is the Draconid. This card can be ritual summoned by the Meteornist Drytron ritual spell. It cannot be targeted by monster effects, and also if you use level 2 or lower monsters for the ritual summon, which you usually do if you use the small Drytrons to ritual summon this guy, it can attack every special summoned monster your opponent controls once each. So this is also your main way of clearing your opponent's board when you go second. And it has a quick effect during your opponent's turn. By banishing monsters in your graveyard with a combined attack of exactly 2,000 or 4,000, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls for every 2,000 attack total, and send those cards to the graveyard. So this is also your main form of interruption in the Drytron archetype itself. With one copy of Meteorn's Quadrantids, this card is on your way to get rid of a back row. Well, once per turn, you can just blow up all back row your opponent controls. It is not an on-summon effect. You can use it every single turn as long as it is on the field. If this ritual card is destroyed, you can summon Drytron monsters from your graveyard, which combined attack equals exactly 4,000. So even if it gets destroyed, you get back some stuff. We have 3 copies of Cyber Angel Ben 10, a really important ritual monster that you basically never summon, but rather you use it in your hand to tribute for your Drytron monster effects, because all of your main deck small Drytron monsters need to tribute a ritual monster or a Drytron monster to be able to summon themselves. So this card has an irrelevant effect on the field, but more importantly, when it is tributed, you can add a light fairy monster from your deck to your hand. So you can either add more copies of itself, or you can add a copy of Angel 07 at the very end of the combo. And this card is a monster that you want to tribute summon, and as long as this card is tribute summoned on the field, it just negates all effect monsters on both players everywhere. It doesn't just negate on the field. It prevents monster effect activations entirely for both players, and also works in the hand, in the graveyard, just anywhere. So a really difficult monster for most decks to out. But some decks like Branded can still activate their fusion spells and still make their boss monsters even though they can't really use their monster effects. For the small Drytrons, we are playing one copy of Alpha Fuben. You want to play as many copies as you could, but one copy is fine because it's really searchable with your skill. This one is the one that searches a ritual monster. Zeta is the one that searches a ritual spell. Gamma summons from the grave, and Delta draws you a card. So these are the unique effects of every one of the Drytrons when they are summoned. They all share the same summoning condition, which is that if it's in your hand or in your graveyard, you can tribute a Drytron monster or a ritual monster from your hand or field to summon it from your hand or graveyard and then do the unique effect. And also you're locked into only summoning monsters that cannot be normal summoned or set. As a quite pretty weird restriction, but it's still fine because the monsters we're going to summon are either ritual monsters, extra deck monsters, or monsters that we normal summon, so those will not fall under the restrictions. For the spells, we're playing one copy of Drytron Fafnir. This card searches a Drytron spell trap on activation, and also it kinda has interruption effect for Synchro or Xyz decks, because when your any monster is normal or special summoned while this card is on the field, and you control a Drytron monster, you can reduce that monster's level by 1 per 1,000 attack that it has. So it kind of messes up with their levels, which is sometimes good against some Synchro Xyz decks, sometimes it just doesn't do anything, but it's still a nice effect to have. We have one copy of Drytron Nova. This card is a lot less good than it is in the TCG or in Master Duel because the skill just searches anything anyway, but it's still a really good card to search off of your field spell. It allows you to search a Drytron monster by just special summoning the small Drytrons from your deck directly. And we have a copy of the Ritual spell, which can ritual summon monsters by tributing monsters that add up to equal or more attack than the ritual monster has. So it's a bit different from your usual ritual summon mechanics. And also once per turn you can add it back to your hand from the graveyard by reducing a monster you control by 1,000 attack. The adding back effect is once per turn, but the ritual summon effect is not. So you can ritual summon 2 times usually during a single turn. Finally, just 3 copies of Forbidden Chalice as generic staples, and you really need this card to beat the meta decks like Branded that are running really rampant in ranked right now. Otherwise, cards like Mirror Jade might give you really bad time. For the extra deck, most importantly, we have 2 copies of Drytron Blue Beta Fafnir. This card is the way to get you access to more Drytron names, because on summon you can send any Drytron card from your deck to the graveyard. Usually it will be any Drytron monster that you haven't have access yet, so you can get it to the graveyard and then summon it back using its own effect. And also you can ritual summon by detaching materials that are under it. So when you ritual summon with the ritual spell, instead of tributing from your hand or field, you can also use materials from under this Xyz monster. Also, it's a spell trap negate. Once per turn, if your opponent activates a spell trap card, if you control a machine ritual monster, you can just detach one and negate an activation. So if you're going first, you do ideally want to leave at least 1 material under your Xyz monster so that you can use it for the negate. And the second material you can use for the ritual spell. And importantly, both the Mu Beta Fafnir and your Ritual monster won't be able to activate the effects while you have Angel 07 on the field, because it locks both players' monster effects. So it is a bit counterintuitive, but Angel 07 is such a good floodgate that if it stays on the field, you usually just win the game. And if your opponent gets rid of it, and your Drytrons just have their effects active again. So either way, it's still a really good card to have on the field. And for our rank ones, we're playing a bunch of Literalisk, we're playing a copy of Recital Starling. This can search DD Crow if you want to play DD Crow in your deck, but usually if you want to crash into an opponent's monster to deal some damage, you can use this card. You can use Assembled Nightingale to stall for a turn if your opponent draw and logbirds you, for example, and stops you from setting up your board. You can just pass on this card. Or you can make this card on some Blue Robin, which bounces 2 monsters when they are special summoned. And for going second, we have a copy of Promenade Rush, which spins back a back row. None of these are really that important. The most important one is the Drytron one, but they are pretty good to just have as options because we have tons of extra deck space anyway. For the Link monsters, we have a copy of Triple Burst Dragon for our Link 3, a copy of Pentastag for our Link 2. It gives your monsters piercing so that you can give your giant Draconids piercing and beat over every single monster your opponent controls. And also a Link Karibo, which is pretty good if you have a Drytron Nova to summon a Drytron for your deck. You can just link it off for Link Karibo and then summon that monster back from your graveyard. Okay, so this is the expensive version. We are playing most notably a copy of Saravis because sometimes you have enough ritual monsters already in your hand and you still have a free search from Alpha Fuben, and then you can just use it to add the Saravis instead and then have a form of targeting protection for your end board. For the other ritual monsters, it is exactly the same. We're playing 2 Alpha Fuben. Technically, you can play free, but 2 is also okay. It's a UR after all, so if you don't want to get free copies, you don't really need to. The most important monster to get free copies of is Zeta, which is just a rare, so it's pretty easy. And the skill can grab you anything anyway, so don't stress it too much, even if you don't have that many copies of Alpha. We're still playing the Angel 07. Many people play a copy of the Vylon shooter instead, the level 3 Vylon shooter that's just there just because it's a level 3 tuner. Fairy tuner that can be searched by Benten, so that you can just normal summon the tuner and then make Arclight, and that's like a negate. And instead of that, we're just playing Angel 07 because I think the Floodgate is just more useful, but you can change the that slot depending on what you like or just whatever the meta favors more. For the generic back row, we're playing Free Droplet and Free Eclipse, just good staples in general, and the rest of the deck is pretty much the same. The extra deck looks really similar, but instead of bad Link monsters, we're playing the Nightmares and also Underworld Goddess for edge case scenarios where your opponent has a really big monster that you can't really out. You can just make this card, and it's just nice to have in the extra deck, and it's not like we have a really tight extra deck anyway. So with that said, let's have a look at some replays. Okay, for our first replay, we're going first, and also I probably should mention that this is a new recording setup, so if anything feels off, that's probably why. So we're gonna start off by revealing any of our Drytrons and then just send any of the Drytron that we're missing. So we don't have Alpha Fubin, so that's what we're gonna send. And we're gonna summon the Alpha Fubin, summon the Zeta, and then add the Benten and the Ritual spell. We're gonna summon back the Ritual from our grave, and we're gonna leave a material under the Xyz monster because we need one material to detach to negate a spell trap. And then we're gonna add back the Ritual spell for next turn. We're gonna go and summon back the Delta just to draw a extra card, and then we're just gonna summon the Angel 07 and pass turn. So our opponent will summon a Borrowed Furies, which cannot activate its effect, but it can crash. So it's gonna attack over the Angel 07, and then afterwards it can use the quick effect. But we have the Chalice to negate it. He will chain Tracer, no big deal. That isn't really that important anyway, that he pops our Xyz, and we can still send his Rocket Tracer using our Draconids, and during our own turn we can just summon the other Ritual, and that will still be game. Okay, game 2, we are once again going first. The going first board is pretty straightforward. But because our opponent is playing Mekanko, we won't actually be summoning the Angel 07 because the Mekanko monsters don't really get affected by Angel 07 because it only stops activated monster effects. But the Mekanko's damage reflecting effects are all continuous effects, so Angel 07 doesn't do anything. So instead, we're just gonna make everything else and keep the Angel 07 in our hand. And also, our hand isn't really that good anyway, so even if we had even if we were to make Angel 07, it still wouldn't be that good of an end board. But that's still okay. We still have the Spell Trap Negate from the Beta Fafnir, and then we have the Ritual to send stuff, and we have the Chalice that we opened. That should still probably be okay. Our opponent is playing the Field Spell, and they're going to try to use the Equip spell to bounce back our Spell Trap Negate. We will send it to the graveyard so it doesn't resolve. He's going to go and add the Reflection Rondo to steal our monster. I should probably negate the Reflection Rondo even though it doesn't steal immediately because after it steals a monster, my Spell Trap Negate is offline, but thankfully he doesn't have enough monsters on the field to actually OTK, so they are going to pass back to us. So let's do a little bit of comboing, summon back the Drytrons from our graveyard so that we have enough material for us to Ritual Summon. And we're going to activate the Meteornus Drytron that we added back last turn to Ritual Summon the Back Row Wipe. He's going to equip spell, but that is completely fine because we can pop it anyway. And he's going to add back the Double-Edged Sword, which is completely fine because there won't be a next turn. We're going to Xyz Summon a Beta Fafnir, and then use it to send whatever because we just have a free send. And we're gonna reduce the attack, add back the Ritual spell, activate Nova to get a free body on the field for us to Tribute Summon in Angel 07 just to prevent our opponent from activating something like a Kite Roid. And we just make a Draconids and then just punch full game. The attack wouldn't deal any damage because of their continuous effect, but we can still attack again and deal lethal. Alright, final game, we are using the expensive version, and people usually play 30 cards in these kind of decks because the skill just searches anything anyway, and consistency isn't really an issue, but I still like playing fewer cards just so that we can draw powerful staples like Droplet and Eclipse more often, and as you can see, we drew both. But we're going first, so that doesn't really matter too much if we draw them or not, but if we were to go second, having these staples on our hand is really, really important, and will be the deciding factor of when we are going to win the games or not. I'm going to tribute the Ben 10, again adding the 07, and then don't forget to add back the Ritual spell before you tribute summon your Angel 07. And we're gonna do just that. We're gonna set 2 and pass turn. So our opponent has a Cosmic Cyclone. He's gonna bash our Droplet, no big deal. He's gonna go and Chalice our Angel 07, which is unfortunate, but that means that both our monsters can use their effects. So we're gonna use it to send 2 Sword Souls. He's gonna go Taya, or we're gonna go Eclipse, flip everything face down. And he's gonna draw a card, but that should be a pretty easy line to lethal. Our Angel 07 is no longer active because it's flipped face down, so the effect is no longer going to floodgate our opponent. But that means we can use our own monster effects as well. We're gonna go attack, and not so fast. Our opponent has a Golden Sword Soul, so he's gonna be able to block an attack. And then he's going to try to still play with 2 cards in hand. We have the Draconids quick effect, but that's pretty much it. And the Eclipse. And the Beta Fafnir ran out of material, so we can't really use that. But that should still probably be enough. We're going to send the Albaz, and he fails to Fusion Summon, and then that will be the end of the game.